Welcome to this stage. Welcome to the ACHEMA. What we had in the last days was a congress. We got all together with the experts for data modeling and data integration here at the Portal House. And what we have achieved there, that's something I will tell you today. First, let me give you an introduction to DEXPI. DEXPI is an initiative of major owner-operator companies, software vendors, and standardization organization, which helps to improve data exchange in the process industry. After that, I will talk some words about the PIDMIC Congress and give you some first results. So let's start with DEXPI. DEXPI is an initiative, as I said it, and the idea is that we work together to create an open and neutral, reliable data exchange standard so that we can exchange data in the process industry to enable the future-proof digital collaboration. And what we did, something like 10 years ago, we started with the PIN-ID. Why did we start with the PIN-ID? Well, when we look at such a PIN-ID, we see that there are different components on such a PIN-ID. First, we always see that there are these graphical elements like piping, instrumentation, and apparatus and machines. Okay, we all know it, and we all know that the piping and instrumentation diagram is currently the most important document in the process industry. And then we also have special things on these PIN-IDs. We have symbols, we have labels, and that's the most important thing. Behind all these graphical symbols, we have the engineering information. And we also have other things like off-page connectors where you connect different PIN-IDs together. We have special annotations, and we also have the title block, which is also very important. So we did look at these PIN-IDs, and we wanted to exchange the information from one system to another. For example, from one software vendor to another. Our main use case was always to transport data, for example, from an EPC contractor to an owner-operator, or vice versa. And that's something we started with. We also had this in the very beginning, we just looked at it. It was an initiative out of 3 software vendors, 3 owner-operators, but now we have more owner-operators on it. So BASF is on the team, Bayer, Covestro, Equinor from Norway, and Evonik, that's where I'm working on, and Merck and Wacker. And we also have some EPC contractors. And the most important thing is when we do these requirements, we specify the requirements, what do we need for an exchange standard, and then we go into the research organizations and say, let's build up a specification out of that. So we have different research organizations which are also in the DEXPI initiative. And when we do that, then we go into standardizations organizations. We ask ourselves, what are the standards that are already there? Because we do not want to invent new standards. We want to bring different standards together. And that's something you really need if you want to make it integrated. And that's why we have different international communities that we work together worldwide to bring that up. So there are things like ISO, IEC, and other initiatives. And of course, if you want to use it, you have to implement that into software. And when we first started as owner-operators, we found out it is not going without the software vendors. So we are very happy that we have so many software vendors on board. And if I look around, I see a lot of logos here. So that's very good that we have all these software vendors on board. That is the DEXPI initiative. And we have figured out in the last years that the original use case from EPC to owner-operator is not the only one you can do with PIN-IDs. So we had a lot of nice startups and other little companies and very innovative companies that came to DEXPI and said, look, we have done this and that use case with DEXPI, because suddenly the PIN-ID gets machine readable and you can do a lot of these with these things that you have on such a PIN-ID. So we have different other use cases that you can do with the information in DEXPI. And we have also looked at the complete asset life cycle. So the P&ID is only a part of the asset life cycle. The complete asset life cycle somewhere starts with the process design at the beginning. We have all these engineering phases, and we go into operations, building the plant, and maintaining the plant. And all these asset life cycle phases are important for this initiative. Yeah, why you should participate in DEXPI. There are different reasons why it makes sense to be in that organization. That's only an advertisement here from my side. You can find us. There's a very small booth there at the end behind the Microsoft stand. So if you want to have more information, just come over and get all the information you need. There's also a website, dexpi.org. You can go there, and you can also get the information. So what did we do in the last days? Let's come to the PIDMIC Congress. The motivation was that we have a lot of standardization organizations we are working with, and we found out that all the different standardizations organizations little bit doing data modeling somehow. Some do a lot of data modeling like ISO 50926, and others doing little, and often some organizations start to do their own things and do not look right or left. And we wanted to bring them all together and have them here. And it's, of course, a great place to be here at ACHEMA to bring these organizations together. So if we look at the asset lifecycle, we all have the different standards that you can somehow arrange during the asset lifecycle, where you say, okay, here and there, this is possible. So we get together in the last days with all the experts. So we had experts from ISO, from ISC, from different other organizations, and I will get to that in a minute. We came together and had a very good exchange, and it was the first time that all these initiatives met and have talked together, and I hope that will not be the last time. So we had a tough agenda the last 2 days. And I will show you in a little bit more detail what we have done during these days. So we started with a session on day 1, where we looked at the different organizations. So we had a presentation about ISO, especially ISO 50926, and all the other ISO standards. And we were very happy that we had Niels Sandsmark and Paul von Exel, who are conveners of different work groups at the ISO standardization organization. And we had very nice look at the different ISO standards. Then we had some, actually Mr. Weber didn't show up, but we had some other people arranged to talk about IEC. And the thing is that IECs, normally we would say International Electrical Commission, that's only electrics, but IEC is also providing standards that are more general. And of course, ISO is also doing standardization, which is more general, and sometimes that doesn't really fit together. So we brought them together and we thought about how could a common understanding be of the data models. Then we had also an approach from Industry 4.0 and the asset administration shell. Mr. Grüner gave the presentation there, and it was very interesting because you see how that all fits together, how that can transport it in such an administration shell. And to talk about transport, we also had Mr. Hoppe from OPC-UA, and I was really impressed by the big stand we have here at ACHEMA. Mr. Hoppe also gave a presentation how that can be used for transportation. And we also figured out that's somehow similar to AAS. And I'm very happy that AAS and Industry 4.0 and OPC-UA are working more closely together. So that was the first session. The second session was about, we talked about general industry solutions. So there's a big initiative in the oil and gas industry called CFIHOS. Peter is here today, so if you have any questions to that. It's a huge organization with a lot of owner-operators, software vendors, and EPC contractors from the oil and gas industry. Then I had the chance also to give a presentation about DEXPI, but I think most people in that area knew it. And then we had a presentation about ECLASS, what ECLASS is doing. Unfortunately, we could not get someone from ECLASS to the Congress, but our former colleague, Mr. Temmen, gave a good presentation about what is going on in ECLASS, how can that fit to other data models. So this is also very important to bring that together. That was more, let's say, a general industry approach. So, and I'm sorry if these slides, I worked on these slides yesterday evening because we had the session and the workshop ended yesterday and I had to prepare it until today. So maybe I hope next time I will give you even more information, more detailed information. Then we had an industry solution session where we had very interesting conversations around all this VDMA and USPI initiatives. USPI is a Netherlands organization which are doing a lot of standardization for 3D modeling. And so that should also fit together with VDMA associations and so on. Then we had a session about where do we go in the future. So some future initiatives that just started that we want to bring up. And we, for example, we have seen that there is a lack of standardization around process flow diagrams, all these things. So if you go from process simulation to engineering, there are no standards really that we can use. So that's also something we have figured out within the DEXPI initiative. And that's called DEXPI Plus. And then we have, within the ISO organization, there is also a part 14, which is currently developed, which is also preparing things like how to exchange data. And there's an interesting initiative at the oil and gas industry. It's called JIP 33, Joint Industry Project 33. It's about data sheets. The oil and gas industry is here really standardizing data sheets and brings that into the data models of CFIHOS. And then we have we had a very interesting presentation from USPI where we had all these different taggings. So what do we tag? What is a tag? And what do we tag? Do we tag the motor? Do we tag the pump? How do we tag it in the process industry? So that was also there. Then we got into additional user reviews. So we have different initiatives, especially in the northern parts of Europe. In Sweden, we have the SEIA initiative, which is mainly focusing on bringing these data models and data integration into the industry. Then we have THTH in Finland, which is also an industry organization, which is also looking at data standards and trying to establish these data standards in the industry. And Arto is here also, so it's very good to have you here. So if you have further questions to him, don't hesitate. And of course, we have a big American initiative called Construction Industry Institute. That's a huge organization. And Mr. Meyer-Rössel from Autodesk gave a presentation about what is going on in CII at the moment, because they are rearranging a lot and so on. And they also want to use the data standards we develop here in the initiatives, and they have a very good, they are starting to make scientific approaches how to integrate all these different standards. And then Mr. Schüller from Namur was also there and have shown how that all works together with the automation. And that was the Namur activities. Okay, then that was the presentation part. Now we got into how do we go on, how do we all bring these different standards together. And the interesting part was that we looked at a matrix where we have written down all the different initiatives and tried to analyze how aligned are these initiatives, how comparable are they, do they fit together, and so on. And that's something we have been working on. and we have filled, we had this form, this web form, which we had to fill out, and we filled it out 90 times yesterday. And we saw that we have 6 initiatives that are very good, fully aligned. We have 28 initiatives that are only partly aligned, and we have 38 initiatives that are not yet aligned, that should talk together to really bring these standards together. Because we do not want that everybody does his own things, we need to integrate it. And then we also said there are 12 that there are no alignments necessary. So that's something we have been working on in that session. Then we had the next session where we worked on how do we fit together to a common view. And one thing we figured out is a common view that we really need relationships. That's the most important thing, and you'll see it here in the word cloud. We really talked about how can we see that, and the basic asset lifecycle approaches we have. So what we start at the beginning with the process, then we go into the engineering phase, and then we have the assets that are really built into the systems and built into the plants. These really are there, and you have them as a physical object. But of course, you can buy from one vendor. You can buy multiple of these pumps. So we also have something like a vendor product. We all agreed on that, so that was a common understanding we got in these sessions. And then we were looking at commitments. So everybody had to commit on something. And the most commitments we had, of course, we have to analyze this data because we had a lot of commitments. The most important commitment was from all these initiatives that we will go and work together. And that's, I think, one of the most important things that came out of these workshops, that we want to do a common work in the future. Yeah, summary, the most important data initiatives and standardization bodies came together. We had a commitment from every organization and from everyone who was there about the concepts. It was a very effective and efficient meeting, and we have identified what future tasks are there and how can we use them and how can we go and do really the next steps to come forward to bring all these different initiatives together. And we have a concrete commitment from everyone who was there to do and work together in the future. So that's from my side about the Congress yesterday and the day before, and I'm open for questions.